I am the Namer, guardian of the names of power. Before your world even existed, my people were an ancient race. Now they are gone, and only I remain, keeper of my people's history. Across the endless tracts of space have I traveled, to return to the planet of my birth, Zoidstar. Though my people perished long ago, and their cities were buried by the shifting sands, the machines remain. It is these that have brought me here to perform the last act of the Zoidarian race, the giving of the names of power. When my race was young and had an interest in the affairs of the galaxy, they built the machines, mighty engines of destruction which gave the power of life and death over the other creatures in the galaxy. The Zoidarians turned their gaze outward and laid waste to 1,000 star systems with their machines, their Zoids. But ruling a galaxy was not enough for the Zoidarians. It was not the conquests, but the battles they enjoyed. And though all intelligent life trembled in the shadow of the Zoids, my people battled on, machine against machine, Zoidarian against Zoidarian, in the further pursuit of glory. Zoidarian lives were needlessly sacrificed to the god of battle, and the race dwindled in numbers until the elders outlawed the Zoid duels. But they couldn't outlaw the Zoidarian love of combat. The Zoidarian pilots of the giant war machines were replaced by androids, and thus the heroic combat could continue without threat to Zoidarian life. Too late came the order. Too late to save a once mighty race from extinction, and now only I remain. Only I and the Zoids. And though my people created the Zoids, I have no power to control them. For the war machines have become the living embodiment of the Zoidarian thirst for combat, with lives and wills of their own. They exist only to fight, to ensure that their heroic combat lasts for all eternity. Now I stand on the sand-blasted surface of a world I used to call home, high on a rock, scanning the horizon for some sign of movement, knowing that out there, behind the sand clouds, lurk the deadliest war machines in the universe. Ah! It begins!
Orudios, Pegazuz of steel. Ultimate helicom Zoid reveal. The Republic's final and last hope flies. With noble sacrifice the dragon dies, and so Gilvader falls from the sky dead. Alas, Orudios, too noble bred. Orudios, Pegazuz of steel white. Orudios, pure mechanical might. Orudios, golden eyes and power true. Orudios, your courage sees us through. Orudios, Pegazuz of steel white. Orudios, pure mechanical might. Orudios, golden eyes and power true. Orudios, your courage sees us through. Machines of the past in this hour. With great wings the Pegazuz Zoid takes flight, awoken and enraged by black Zoid light. His eyes burn golden and his white steel flash. Pegazuz beats the air with mighty crash. Pegazuz, mighty monster machine beast. Pegazuz, ancient sword is now unleashed. Pegazuz, mechanical body white. Pegazuz, glowing gold eyes pierce the night. The bringer of destruction roams the skies. Pegazuz scans for targets with gold eyes. His gleaming white steel under Zoidstar sun. Zoids who fall under his shadow are undone. Zoidzilla and his blue Zoids now take heed. Red Horn and his red Zoids come and stampede. Clark and his united Zoids prepare to. Renegade Zoids will stand and fight on through. Pegazuz, mighty monster machine beast. Pegazuz, ancient sword is now unleashed. Pegazuz, mechanical body white. Pegazuz, glowing gold eyes pierce the night. Planet Zoidstar shakes as ancient Zoids roam. Roused from slumber with rage without a home. Pegazuz won't stop till his anger fades. Till then we all must endure his crusades. Pegazuz, mighty monster machine beast. Pegazuz, ancient sword is now unleashed. Pegazuz, mechanical body white. Pegazuz,
never-ending battle between red and blue Zoids. It has been waged for centuries. It rages still, with no end in sight. The Namer, last of the Zoidarians, guardian of the names of power, keeper of the legend of heroic combat, have spoken.